Hey guys, welcome back to this beautiful channel. It is me, the Chainsaw Maniac, and we are here with another one of these videos to help you guys out with your web comics. Now, if you have read the title of the video, this will be talking about my experience as an animator and how I've implemented some of the techniques and things I've learned throughout my career as an animator and how I've implemented them into my web comic. Or maybe it will help you figure out some techniques or methods that may help you guys in your webcomic making journey. So, first of all, when it comes to animation, and I deal with specifically 3D animation mostly. So just a little background on me as an animator. I've been in the animation industry for about, I think I'm coming up on my 5th year in the animation industry. So far, I've dealt with a lot of 3D animation. There has been times when we have dipped our toes in 2D animation aspects, but we mostly do 3D animation. And me personally, I've worked on some personal projects for myself in 2D animation. I've kind of got the gist of what the process is for 2D animation as well as 3D animation. And then I kind of figured out a way to implement now the structure or this method that I've used in my previous projects as well as my work projects. But the difference is, in terms of my work projects, it's not just me alone in one process. My team helps me with the process itself. So usually I'm the first guy the project gets handed to. I deal with asset management, whereby I model the assets that's needed, or I see to the assets that needs to be made for a certain project, and I get them ready so the animators can get into them and, you know, do what needs to be done. Sometimes I take on the more action or dynamic roles in animation. So maybe a car crash, maybe some guy gets knocked in the face with something. Usually I take on the very dynamic scenes of animation sometimes, and most of the time I take on very mechanical scenes in terms of whether it's a car or a machine moving or something. I usually do those types of animations, but that's neither here nor there. That's just a little, you know, a little background and a little info on what I specifically do in my job and how I implement the methods used in animation to compose my web comics. First of all, what I've learned is we need to understand the assets that we're gonna need for your specific web comic. And by assets, I mean where is it taking place. You need to know certain areas where it's taking place. This all comes into the planning aspect before you start your webcomic. But if you have already started your webcomic like me, whereby you just didn't plan anything out and you just jumped into it head first, Lord help you, you're gonna have to find a way to kind of keep yourself on your feet at the same time. Maybe some of these tips can help you gather some footing in terms of pushing yourself forward to finish up what needs to be finished up. This is a quick tip, but I recommend for those of you who just jumped in head first and did not really plan your series out too well, I recommend after every 3rd episode taking a week break, just a week-long break, so you can gather your footing, get get a little buffer going. For those of you who don't know what a buffer is and you're just starting out, it's basically doing some work in advance, or maybe finishing a couple of episodes in advance and then releasing them on a scheduled date and time. So what I would suggest you do is, when you're starting out, you kind of if you haven't done webcomics before, or if you have dabbled with it a bit in the few months that you have. I think I have about, I don't know, I started making webcomics on Webtoon in January this year. January, yes. I remember starting, I think I can check up on my Webtoon account where exactly I started, but I'm pretty sure it's January. And so it's been like about, I think it's the 7th day is the start of the 7th month. Therefore, I've been working on my webcomic for half a year basically. And so you're gonna have to take certain things I say with a grain of salt because I'm not that experienced. But then again, this is a little bit for my webtoon webcomic experience, but at the same time this is more from my animation standpoint and my experience in that, because I'm almost a half a decade in the animation industry, and I feel like this especially for those who incline more to animation, these methods may help you more in terms of making webcomics if you plan on starting them. So where was I? God damn, I lost my train of thought. Yes, we're talking about the planning aspect of your webcomic. So I'm gonna talk more about the planning out your assets first, because I'm talking about it from a animator's point of view. So usually you have to plan out your assets first. So what do I mean by assets? Assets in terms of webcomics, I would suggest the assets would be the storyline, or what your story is about. That's basically the gist of the basis of what you're going to present your assets on. And then you have your characters, you have your stage, or the places in which your webcomic is taking place in, whether or not it's a made-up place or it's an existing area. You kind of have to figure that out. If it's existing, you kind of have to be a bit more accurate, and you kind of have to get more reference on what things look like. But when it comes to just inventing a complete world for your characters, it's going to be much easier, obviously, because you're making the world up as you go along, and it doesn't have to look like anything that we know of, because we don't know anything about this world and we're beginning to understand it. If there's a bunch of fighting aspects in your webcomic, you're gonna have to figure out fighting styles, how certain abilities work. There's a lot of planning that you're gonna have to go into, but I would say don't overthink things, okay? Just think about your main characters for now, okay? What's your main character like? His personality, he or she, or whatever pronouns you want to use for their personality, their traits, what abilities they have, if they have any abilities. Maybe they have certain items or things that they use, describing the items that they use. So planning these things out in advance, this would constitute as asset. And I would suggest also ahead of time, if you're planning out dialogue scenes, specifically if you have a bunch of dialogue scenes in your webcomic, make 3 to 6 panels that you can make 3 to 6 panels of characters, whether it's your main character, because your main character, it's obviously based on your main character, and the story is going around your main characters. So I would suggest maybe doing a bunch of panels with your main characters in different positions or poses, in terms of them having dialogue or talking to someone, and then producing high quality images of this. Because why? And this is gonna jump into our next segment, or just a quick tip maybe, you know, you look for reusability, because when it comes to making a bunch of assets, this is the reason why you're gonna have your asset library. And this is usually in animation, we have, especially 3D animation, we have a giant asset library where we have plenty of assets that we have already used before, already made, modeled, textured, whatever. We have a giant library of this. We keep our assets for the sake of, if we're on a deadline and we need a specific asset, we don't need to remodel it again, and we can just grab it from the library and then position it into our scene. Exactly the same thing with your characters. So if you have drawn characters, specifically your main character, in many different poses before, make sure you keep those panels in a higher quality, because you might have to resize them, move them around. You can even flip them, you can even tilt them a bit so they look a bit different, but they're the same thing, and you're just reusing them. This really saves time for yourself, and it will help you in the long run. Okay, you don't have to draw 50 panels of the same character in many different poses, whereby you can just use 6 different panels of your characters in different poses, and then you can just copy and paste them in different positions, scales, and rotations, and voila, you got a reusable asset. So really take into consideration how you planning on using your assets as well. This is for those of you who haven't really started on your webcomic yet, and this may help you plan out certain scenes in the future, okay, for your webcomic. For those of you who have already started, don't worry, don't panic, okay? Don't panic, okay? You can still do the same method that I've taught you now, or that I've told you about, and you can still go back to your previous episodes, look for any panels that are very generic and consist of dialogue scenes, because if it comes to action scenes, you cannot reuse action scenes because you can't be doing the same action every time, okay? It's weird. Like, how does that even work? So it only works for dialogue scenes and things, and scenes where people have close-ups of their faces, and you know, like if you have an image of a character's entire body, and at the side like view of your character, and they're having a dialogue with someone. Later on, if they're having the dialogue with another person, they're wearing the same clothes, it's in the same scenery, you can basically just reuse that shot and maybe zoom into his face a bit, or maybe you want to show more expression in his hand, you can zoom into his hand. You know, there's a lot of ways you can reuse panels. So try to think a little bit outside the box and, you know, shift some panels around. At this time, I can't really demonstrate this for you. Maybe in the back, when I'm doing my speed drawing, you will see me actually reusing panels. But if you want, check out a few of my live streams, the Webtoon and Chill live streams, which I do every Tuesday or Thursday. You can check those out and see exactly where I reuse panels. I will actually clip some of those parts of those streams and then I put it up my channel for you guys, so you guys can see how I deal with this method. But yeah, to summarize it, always make assets so you can reuse them in the future. Always plan out the type of assets, backgrounds, characters that you will need for your scenes and everything, you know what I mean? Hopefully that was that made coherent sense. If not, well, you know, you guys can always join me on stream, and then I will, you know, answer any questions that you guys need me to answer, or in the comment section. Either way. Now, I talked a little bit about planning your scenes, but I don't think I went in depth on how I exactly plan my scenes. I use a form of storyboarding, which is what usually happens in animation. You have storyboarding or thumbnailing, as I think they say in Webtoon or webcomic language. I don't know. I've heard that. I was always wondering, like, what the hell does thumbnailing mean? And basically, it's kind of like storyboarding, I think. Whereby you're just planning out your scenes where your characters are standing, the background, the objects, and you're just planning it out. Very rough planning, you know, you're not adding too much crazy detail, you're just planning out the layout of your panels. I'm pretty sure that's what it means. If not, just let me know in the comments if that's what it means. I'm pretty new to the webcomic lingo and, you know, comic lingo and whatever you guys use. But yeah, in animation terms, you kind of use storyboarding to plan out your scenes, where exactly your characters are going to be, your assets and everything, etc, etc. So this is the same way I plan my webcomics. I don't really write a script. I just write down my panels, plan exactly where the characters are going to be, then I work on the dialogue. I kind of bring the dialogue in the moment, what they're going to talk about. I always put myself in my character's shoes, what they're talking about. What would he say in this situation? How would he say it? What's his personality type? Maybe a certain way he phrases his words, the type of languages he uses. This I all do in kind of the moment, and I kind of put myself in my character's shoes to get an idea of what they would say. And now this only works if in the first place you planned out your characters, you know exactly what their personality types are like. You know exactly what type of weapons they will use, what are their traits, how would they act in certain situations. You kind of have to put yourself in your character's shoes, and if you have planned this ahead of time, you have kind of written some sort of biography of your character and what they like in the planning process. this will come easily and you guys will kind of just fly through this. To be honest with you guys, I didn't have a real script for this video. I'm just kind of talking on points that I thought of in this moment. It's a good way of seeing exactly how my planning. This is exactly how my planning process works, by the way, for webcomics. I think of it on the spot. I kind of rehash them in my brain, and then I format them in my brain, and then I put them on the page, because my brain is just, it works like that for me. So it might not work like that for everyone, but I'm just completely insane, and that's how my brain works. So meeting deadlines, I think, is a great topic to hop into now, because meeting deadlines is obviously, when it comes to deadlines and scheduling, it's always a big part of the animation process, because it gives you a point of reference for when exactly this needs to be done, therefore kind of pushing you forward to finish things in a certain amount of time, and also allocating the priority of certain assets that you will need as well. So let's say like for instance with webcomics, right? You have a deadline for a week. Okay, you have a week to finish this webcomic. What can you do to use your time efficiently, as well as making the best of what you have? And this is basically the ways we have to kind of get around things in the animation industry. You kind of have to look at what you have, what you will need, and then you look at, okay, how much time do you have as well? So it's work versus time, or quality versus time, so to say, because obviously you can't produce higher quality things if you don't have as much time to produce these things. But if you have planned it before the time, like I've said in the beginning of the video, definitely you will have the quality you need, and at the same time you will be able to reuse scenes, therefore lessening your time needed to do those scenes, and therefore you can work more on the story and dialogue. Yeah, when it comes to deadlines and scheduling, I know some people, they kind of scatterbrained and they're not scheduling things, and they kind of do things in the time, in the moment. And I'm one of them. I do that plenty of times, okay? But I kind of have a certain routine and scheduling process on which I do things. Obviously, if things happen, throw the wrench in the you know, the pipeline, you kind of have to deal with it, and you have to buy yourself some more time so you can just finish things up. And this happened to me not too long ago. I just got sick and I couldn't produce an episode within that week. But this is where scheduling and deadlines come into play. So if you have a great schedule, if you have a great buffer ahead of time, and you're regularly working on your webcomic and planning things ahead of time, obviously you'll always meet your deadlines, and you'll always have a good scheduling process. Now, for those of you who've jumped headfirst, like me, into your webcomic, the scheduling and deadline process can get pretty intense, and I would suggest, which is the next point that I'm pointing to right now, I don't know why I said point twice, but I did. So this leads us into our next topic, which is know your limits. You gotta know your limits, okay guys? You gotta know exactly how much panels you can do, how much writing is needed, how much panels you can do, and how much you can finish within your given schedule. Therefore, you don't exceed this limit, and you don't make it too overbearing for yourself. So also take regular breaks. Okay, try to, it's not the end of the world. Like I said, you can always do my 3 episode and then break process, whereby you just write 3 episodes, take a break the next week, like for the whole week, just take a break. And within that week, you can even, and by what I mean by take a break in that week, I mean you can still work on your webcomic and everything, you just don't upload in that week, so you have less stress on your back for finishing the next episode, and now you have a little bit of leeway and you get a little bit of rest. So you're still working on your webcomic, you're still putting in the time and effort. It's just you're not overbearing on yourself, or you're not overexerting yourself with what needs to get done. Or you can even do, if you don't want to do that, you can do the 10 episode processes, whereby after every 10 episodes you take a week-long break, which I found is actually doesn't make that much of a difference. I would suggest taking the 3 episode if you're just starting out. Do 3 episodes and then take a break on the 4th week. after you've done your 3 episodes, and then just don't upload your episode on the 4th week. You can still work on it, but now you have a week in advance to finish it, and it gives you some time to rest, if you guys know what I mean. And unfortunately, in the animation industry, you can't really, you can't really decide when your breaks are going to be. The company sets a deadline, and you kind of have to just work within a deadline and finish things up. You can always address things with clients and maybe buy yourself some time if they're being too unreasonable. But if they throw a bunch of cash in your lap and they like, we want this done in a week, they're gonna get a week's worth of work. Okay, that's how it is. That's what you paid me for. You paid me for the quality I can produce within a week, and that's what you're gonna get. And that's kind of how it works. But it all brings you back to the beginning point where I said you have to plan things out. If you plan things out well in advance, you won't have these problems that I basically had. You'll definitely hit your deadlines when they need to be hit, and you definitely will get the rest that is needed. The last point is always the point where, and this is for you guys who had a webcomic and you worked on it for X amount of time, and now you're bored of this webcomic and you want to start a new idea or a new story that you've planned up in your mind, but now you're stuck on this webcomic. Don't worry guys, I have a solution for you that will help you with this. Okay, try and cut your webcomics up into seasons. Therefore, what this helps you is after every season you can take a hiatus from one webcomic and then move on to the next one till you're done with that season, and then move back to the next one. So you can always keep things fresh, always keep things rolling, and this way you kind of keep yourself it makes it fun for you, and in a sense it keeps you motivated as well. It keeps you more interactive with your webcomics. I don't know if that's the word I want to use, but I can't think of the right word, but that's the word I'm just gonna grab at, and that's what it is. Okay, that's a little quick tip over there for you guys. If you're getting bored of your current comic and you want to hop into another one, but you kind of fell in love with the characters of the previous one, but you want to do another comic. So but anyway, hopping on to the last point, which is, as always, believe in your art and your abilities. You gotta believe in yourself, okay? You gotta give yourself a little bit of motivation here, okay? You gotta motivate yourself. You gotta keep yourself moving, okay? So you have to believe that you are able to do what you are trying to do, if you know what I mean. Like, if you want to start a webcomic and in your mindset, you're like, okay, I want to start a webcomic, but I'm not good at drawing, I'm not good at writing, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, blah 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 blah. No, none of that. I don't want to hear that shit. Okay, you get in there, you put on your helmet, grab your gun, and you run in guns blazing. Okay, this is for look here, you just gotta get into it. Okay, you kind of just have to get into it if you have that mindset. But if you okay, at this point I can't do it, but I would like to do it, and I know exactly I'm gonna plan exactly when I'm going to do it and on what date. That can also work. Like, for instance, if you feel like you're not good at it, okay, fine, you're not good at whatever you're not good at, take a few weeks or few days, work on it what you need to work on. But then this is the trick, you set a deadline for yourself on when you want to start with your episode, and this will kind of drive you. So even if you're not good at whatever you're good at, and you get to the point where you're gonna post your webcomic, at least you have a deadline and you have to force yourself on this deadline. Okay, force yourself to start that webcomic on that deadline. Okay, you did the work, you did you put your effort into bettering yourself as much as you can within that time span that you believed you could. Then you start your webcomic. Don't make your time span also too long. Okay, say like, okay, within 2 months I'm gonna post my webcomic. Within 2 months I'm gonna get a 3 episodes ready and I'll put it out there. Just dive headfirst into it. At some point you have to. Okay, what will happen is you will realize how much panels you can do. You will realize certain things that you need for your art or you wish to improve, and also because you're drawing every day towards a specific time schedule, you will definitely finish you will definitely improve on things much quicker. So, you know, just get into it. You know, you have to give yourself a little more credit. Okay, you gotta believe in yourself. Like, for instance, look, I know I am not the best writer. Okay, I'm not the best writer, but I know through doing my webcomic every day and writing stories and doing all these things like every single day, I will definitely get better because I'm working on an aspect of it. It's the same like, you know, boxing or any type of sport you do. You know, if you don't work out or you don't train enough for a certain thing that you're doing, you know, let's say you want to be the best swimmer. How are you going to be the best swimmer if you never swim? Okay, you gotta get in the water. You gotta start swimming. Stop flipping your feet up. Come on, get moving. Okay, it all boils down to just staying true to yourself and just staying honest with yourself. Do you believe you can do something? And is it because you're afraid of what people may think of your webcomic? Are you afraid because look at regardless, okay, people are gonna hate. Okay, they're gonna hate. Okay, it is what it is. They're gonna hate on whatever little thing you do, and you just gotta, you know, step on their foot and move forward. It is what it is. I don't know if I've highlighted certain aspects of animation that I've used to implement in my webcomics well, but hopefully this video helps you. Maybe I missed a few things. I can't really, you know, I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants here and just doing just speak, you know what I mean? Like, it's just I'm just rolling with what's coming off the top of my dome, you know? Like I said, it's the same with your webcomics. You just sometimes you just gotta dive in it. Like I dive in this video right now. I just dived in here. I had a slight plan of how I wanted things to plan out, and did it plan out the way I wanted it to plan out? You know, maybe not, maybe it didn't, but we got some information out of it. We learned some things, as well as you just maybe enjoyed listening to me ramble about a bunch of nonsense that I think I know exactly what's going on. I'm just speaking on my experience with what I had with animation as well as my webcomic. So maybe in the future, you know, I'll look back on this video and I'll be like, you know what, I was actually completely wrong with this, but right now this is the best I have. And in the future, obviously, of like a couple years plus of doing this, I will definitely have enough experience and enough practice to back things up even more. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't checked out my webcomic yet, I don't know what are you doing with your life. Okay, check it out. Nah, I'm kidding. But yeah, if you guys like pretty much action-packed webcomics with very dynamic twisty punches and kicks, I suggest you check out my webcomic. There is a slightly crazy dynamic storyline as well, but yeah, I'm planning on working on many more webcomics in the future. I have two actually planned up in my mind of what I'm doing next, and I don't mind disclosing them on my channel. And I actually brought up one on a live stream. Just some crazy idea I had about cloning. Actually, last live stream I also brought up a storyline I had with zombie superheroes, which is very interesting. And then my detective series, that's the one I'm looking forward to right now. I think the cloning idea I had, I'm gonna keep it for a short story, as well as the zombie superhero one. I think that will be good short stories as well to do. But yeah, also I'm gonna break it out here for you guys. My universe is also connected, so these webcomics are taking place in the same universe, so to speak. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm kind of building my own little Marvel universe over here, so it's gonna be completely insane and it's gonna be crazy bonkers. But we're gonna get right into that shit when I get into that shit. But yeah, definitely check out my webcomic. All the links are down below. Subscribe to the channel, like if you liked it, if you enjoyed it, if you want more and you want to see my progression as an artist, you know, you like it, like up the video, hit that notification bells if you want to be notified for whenever I post. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, live stream, whatever I plan on doing. Hopefully you guys had a nice day, hopefully you guys had a nice time, and I'll see you guys